finally found their stains onto the guy known as Amrabat. Remember, Fabrizio Romano came up early this week and told us that the final decision of Amrabat will be made by Manchester United this week. And towards the end of this week, and this is Sunday, the last day of the week, a decision is going to have to be taken by the club of Manchester United. And as you see it on the title, United are not going to come out, obviously, trigger Amrabat's release clause of 20 million euros from Fiorentina to the club of Manchester United. Welcome to the United Matters channel. How are you guys and where are you watching us from? I go by the names of Rock and David. Smash the like button, comment and share. If at all you're watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. Rock and David is my name and hope you guys are really having fun wherever you are. And it's a Sunday and the Lord God is going to protect us. The Muslims, Allah is doing the due diligence to obviously protect you. To the Muslims, Barakallahu fikum. Then Leny Yoro has come out and spoken about his debut that he really went ahead to have with Manchester United yesterday. That saw the club of Manchester United win by 2 goals to nil, scored by Hugil and Ahmad Diallo, who to me stood out and was my man of the match. Then Eric Ten Hag has something to say about Ahmad Diallo that is going to excite everyone into the mix. 300 likes expected in this video, and let's obviously set it rolling like no other here onto the United Matters channel. No time to waste. It has been Tuto Marketo Web from Italy who came up and obviously told us the following: that Sofyan Amrabat will return to Fiorentina training on Wednesday after the club received communication that Man United would not sign him permanently. He was the first guy that obviously broke the story, and I was like, all right, let me wait for another credible source, though I really trust Tuto Marketo Web. But I was like, if it's official like that, then the likes of Fabrizio Romano, David Austin and very many others will come in through and obviously put in a shift into that. And obviously it was seconds later when we got a story coming in through from Get Italian Football News in English, and they told us that Manchester United have informed Fiorentina that they will not sign Sofyan Amrabat permanently. That's what we got from that side, that they had gone ahead obviously let them know that we are not gonna make this deal permanent in there for you. After that, it was Fabrizio Romano who came up and obviously told us that Man United have informed Fiorentina that they will not trigger the 20 million release clause by option for Sofyan Amrabat, and they're like, we are not obviously gonna go north of what you want. And that really went ahead to obviously take us to a very huge question on why Manchester United don't want to sign Sofyan Amrabat. And I believe that most of you will be asking yourselves, is the interest still there? That is the huge question. And let's proceed and see what we are being told by the sources coming in through from the side of Italy. Amrabat has now returned to La Viola and has made himself available for new manager Raffaele Palladino, with Fiorentina having received communication about the fact that United will not sign the midfielder on a permanent basis. So, Man United have pulled out of the deal of Fiorentina, right? And he is, or they are not, really willing to obviously put in a shift, obviously sign the player. And to me, I really find it very annoying that we haven't gone ahead to get him for an absolute steal in there for you. But as it stands, very many other Premier League clubs are into the queue or are queuing up to obviously get in Sofyan Amrabat's signature to see to it that he comes in through and really puts in a better shift as expected. So Amrabat for me is a player that we need the club of Manchester United, and we need him hugely. I tell you why. Manchester United, amongst all the midfielders we're looking at, there is one that went ahead obviously prove himself that is really good and can get the job done and dusted, and that is none other than Sofyan Amrabat. In the last 4 games, he really showed us that he's really good and he has really some pure quality that can take us far and really give us the best performances as we do want in here at the club of Manchester United. So the story continued to really tell that Sofyan Amrabat's return to Florence is likely to be only temporary, as we'll probably move to another club, and if not United, there is also interest from Premier League club sides. And this is where I went ahead obviously start smiling a little bit, that Even United is still interested in the player. And then we got the most important bit of the story coming in through from Fabrizio Romano that told Man United remain interested in Amrabat and will discuss and willing to discuss different conditions. As Erik ten Hag likes the player, there is interest also from other clubs. Now, this is what is going to excite me, that Manchester United has shown huge interest in Sofyan Amrabat. We need the player, and they just need to negotiate this deal on freshy terms. And I believe that is what the new side of United Ineos is really doing, because when you look at the club of Manchester United, having gone ahead obviously pay 10 million euros as a transfer fee for Sofyan Amrabat last summer on the deadline day to come in through and obviously become a United player, it was not great to obviously pay 10 million euros and then put in a release clause of 20 million euros. You get? The only positive they did was that the clause was not made mandatory. That is it. But for the rest, I think they would have gone ahead to negotiate better. And now, the club of Manchester United, I think, believe they can obviously negotiate a new deal with the side of Fiorentina. Remember, the moment it knocked May, towards the end of May, and Manchester United never went ahead to trigger that clause of 20 million euros, the contract just automatically extended itself for a further 1 more year. That is it. But as it stands, Manchester United are really looking to get in this guy, and I think they are willing to negotiate a better deal with the side of Fiorentina. And because they believe they can obviously get him maybe on a loan with a mandatory option to buy next summer. This time round, if United go on requesting for a loan, it has to be something different. It has to be a loan with a mandatory buy clause. And I think that's what United want to do, because you cannot obviously tell Fiorentina the same thing, that we are obviously going to come out and negotiate a new deal with you, a loan with an option to buy that is not mandatory. I think that's going to be out for the club of Manchester United, because Fiorentina will be like, all right, we are fed up of that. The player is really hitting his, because I think right now Amrabat is 28. Let me check his age. It's Sofyan Amrabat, and he's 27 years of age. He's going to be making 28 years in August. They'll be like, next year he'll be 28, and his price will obviously try to shrink. So all what we are supposed to do is simple. Let's present a deal that is really very attractive to the side of Fiorentina, because he has gone ahead to show to us that he can fit well into the club of Manchester United. Let's obviously get everything up and running and see to it that this deal really comes to pass. And now I believe they can negotiate a better deal, because if it's a mandatory clause and you're supposed to trigger it, you are supposed to pay the 20 million euros. And I think Man United can refresh those terms. So you're not triggering this deal, but you're going to pay you 20 million euros, right? 20 million euros, deal agreed. And we are signing Amrabat on a permanent. Apart from the other loan with a mandatory option to buy, United can come up and really form a better deal with the side of Fiorentina. And they'll be like, we are going to pay you 20 million euros, right? But because it's not mandatory, to trigger a clause, we are going to be paying you in patterns, like in 4 years. Because if United sign Amrabat, I know they'll give him a 4-year contract. And those 4 years, United will be telling Fiorentina that we are going to be giving you 5 million euros per year. I think that will be a very good proper payment plan, because if we've gone ahead to lay out a deal of Zexi, and we are paying close to, I think it's 14, it's 13 million euro. Is it 13? It's not 13, because we are paying 45 million euros in a space of 5 years, meaning that every year we are going to be paying 9 million euros. For Leny Yoro, it's a 62 million euro, but it's 50 million euros of guaranteed fees. Deal spread for 5 years, meaning that every year we are going to be paying them 10. 10 plus 9, that is 19. When you add on the 5 of this guy, that is 24, meaning that we can easily operate in a budget of 60 million euros that we are really having and spread it out to the number of years. I think those are the new permutations that United are really going to make their decisions to obviously get this deal done and dusted on. That is it. If that's not the case, I don't see anything better. I don't see anything better into the mix, because as a club of Manchester United, we need Amrabat. I tell you, Amrabat is needed. And because we are not going to be having Ugarte report soon, as he will join the club of Manchester United after the preseason is really done and dusted in America, and will be getting ready for the game of Man City on the 10th of August in the Community Shield. We need a player who is well known, or who is going to obviously play with these players at the club of Manchester United, and that is who? That is none other than the player called Amrabat. So even if Amrabat comes in early, even if he comes in late, he can easily combine well with Kobe Mainoo and really play against Man City like we did, and even start off a season very well as Manuel Ugarte gets into the team. You get? But it will be very, very, very agitating that Manchester United will not be having Amrabat in the Community Shield. I no longer believe in Casemiro. I'm sorry to say, I no longer believe in Casemiro. I don't see anything that Casemiro is really going to give us. That is it. I don't really see it, because however much he improved a little bit when you're playing against Rangers, but he's not yet at those levels. And I'm just waiting to see how he's going to look when you're playing against Arsenal, a team that is going to come in through with a more elite midfield of Thomas Partey, Martin Odegaard, and Emily Smith-Rowe. I'm just waiting to see how we are going to be looking when we're playing against a team called Arsenal on the 28th. That is next Sunday in the US. Then after that, I'm also going to be looking at how he's really going to play when you're playing against Liverpool. Our last preseason game in America, I think on the 3rd of August, before we fly back to Manchester. I'm going to be also looking at that. But I tell you, I need Amrabat at Manchester United. He's a bargain because he is a proven player. He proved to Erik ten Hag that he can do everything well, and his photo is still on the Manchester United website. Let me check now and see whether it's still there on the website, because all the previous times that photo of Amrabat has gonna hit to be there for some long period of time. Right? Let me go to the players and see. Man, I want to see whether the guy is still there, because for the previous times Amrabat has been there. Even still now, Sofyan Amrabat is still there as a player for Manchester United, and I believe this shows you that United are really willing to do something important to obviously get this deal over the line and really get it done and dusted. So Erik ten Hag loves the player, and even these people that have gone ahead to coming through as Ineos, they evidenced this guy playing the final of the FA Cup, and he won that midfield battle over Kovacic and Rodri. So how can you lose out on such a player? I think it's better you get him on 20 million euros, and after that the rest will be history. And remember, you can obviously sanction the deal of Amrabat after agreeing with Fiorentina that you're going to pay 20 million euros, but well spread in 3-4 years after moving on Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Scott McTominay. That is it. Even if you sell Eriksen, you can be able to obviously move on the player. This player in a very well distributed manner into the mix. So for me, I'm just waiting to see how things are really going to pan out for the club of Manchester United. But Sofyan Amrabat is really a player that I would reckon with to stay at the club of Manchester United, to give us those vibes of obviously getting a more energetic and more mobile player, because his mobility is one of his strengths, and I love it about him that he really plays very well, and nothing really stops him from obviously coming out and obviously putting in a shift that is really well required when United obviously calls him up to put in the shift that is really well required for the club of Manchester United. Now, I'm having some people in here for you. Katinisa, hey RD. Then United should go in for midfielders as early as possible. There is a chance that they're going to get into. And guys, let me tell you, we might see 2 midfielders coming through. Amrabat and Ugarte might be coming through. Then Habi, now no, all right, meaning that oh no. Then Thomas Donko from Ghana, greetings from Ghana, thank you. This is so sad. How can this happen? But the interest is there, and Manchester United are planning to obviously negotiate a better deal. Then I'm having Jata, hey bro, how are you doing? Very sad, but we are still negotiating a deal, and never say never, we might obviously get him in because Ten Hag has his interest in the player, and he has obviously gone ahead to convince the board to get this guy back at the club of Manchester United, and I think the board will be willing to obviously get this deal done and dusted. Adepare Opeyemi, good evening. Aradi, good evening, my brother. Then I'm having Thomas Donka. What about Ugarte decision? Ugarte decision is gonna be coming to a completion in days. You know, I think before we set off for the American tour, the Ugarte decision might have already gone ahead to be made, if I'm not mistaken. That decision will be made before we go to the tour, I think. And United will be really doing that business, and everything will be done and dusted into the mix. And I tell you, if we can see ourselves get the deal of Ugarte done and Amrabat before we fly to America, and Amrabat is on plane to the US with the club of Manchester United, I believe we will see a very good formation into that team, because you'll be knowing that Leny Yoro will obviously be in that central defense, and then Amrabat will be playing to that double pivot. Then other players will join us there, because I need to see Amrabat start off a season after having a very good preseason. Remember, he came in throughout Manchester United without having a thorough preseason with Fiorentina, as he never wanted to train with them, and he was really isolated as he was pushing to obviously coming through and leave the club of Fiorentina. And Fiorentina, we are not counting on him. That's why even having him in a preseason was really uncalled for, because the player was really very optimistic of leaving the side of Fiorentina. That's why he was not part of the plan of Fiorentina. Then I'm having what about Ugarte decision? I've told you it's coming soon. Molea, so boring. Why not signing him permanently? Watching you from Zimbabwe. I've gonna hate to give you 2 conditions that I've gonna hate obviously led this not to happen. And the main condition is, if they are to trigger a clause in the previous contract they signed, that meant that this guy, known as Amrabat, Man United had to obviously go ahead and really pay that amount of money at once. You get? Yet, they don't want to pay 20 million euros at once. All they want is, let's get him the money, right? Let's really agree new terms, sign the player on a permanent deal for 20 million euros, and spread out that payment in either 3 or 4 years. You know, if you sign a 4-year contract with Manchester United as Amrabat, that means we can be giving them 5 million euros per year. You get? And every quarter, United can be sending there like 1.3 million euros to the side of Fiorentina. You understand? That is it. And I think that's why they've gone ahead, obviously, inform them that they're not going to be resigning that, triggering that release clause, and all they want is to agree on fresh terms. And I know those fresh terms agreement will be really revealed very soon, because Ten Hag loves the player, and the player is very patient. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. He wants to come back and play the club of Manchester United, having gone ahead obviously show us that he's really good and doing the best. Bakasuna Amrabat is very similar to United, but he's a very good player. He proved to us that he can do the job. I would rather have Amrabat other than having Casemiro. And Casemiro alone is very expensive. Casemiro earns £360,000 a week. You know, that is a lot of money. And you can even spread it out and pay out close to 3 players. If Amrabat comes in through and United gets him like £120,000, that means we can also get in Ugarte and get him the same deal, because Ugarte at PSG earns, I think, £100,000. Now you give him a deal of more than of an addition of 20,000. You know, you get in Ugarte, you pay him a salary of 120. You get in a player called Amrabat, you get him £120,000 a week, meaning that will be £240,000 a week. You'll be having a balance of £120,000 a week, meaning that you can add that amount of money to the money that this guy wants. That is, what's the name? He goes by the names of Matthias de Ligt. You understand? So for me, I think Casemiro should be really let go. I tell you, letting him go, even if he goes on a cheap, you 100% get to know that you can obviously get relieved on the wage bill. A salary that was directed to one player will now be going to how many players? To how many players? Will be going into 3 players. That is it. And then Abebe Deliso, Amrabat to the US is better for next seasons. Yeah, I think Amrabat should go with Man United on the tour. That is it. And I think for Man United, they would have gone ahead to obviously start working on a deal. And I think Ten Hag is like, getting this player before Wednesday. Getting this player before Wednesday. A medical won't be needed to be done. Just get it done and everything will be done and dusted. And I think we might obviously show PSG that, all right, you want 70 million euros for Manuel Ugarte, but we have an option, and I think Man United should do that first. Let's first get the deal of Amrabat done, and then negotiate the deal of a player called Ugarte, because Ugarte looks like might not come in through as easy as we think, as we're supposed to obviously go ahead and really move on players if you are to get in a player on a fee of that magnitude. Then Bangura, good afternoon, Aradi. Thank you very much for your update. My name is Abdallah from Sierra Leone, thank you. Then Deliso says United needs Amrabat. I know it, we need the player. Then Henry Chinedu, United will need Amrabat. We need the player, that is it. Prince Yusuf, Amrabat is still needed at United permanently. Yeah, we need him. And I think United still have interest in Amrabat. That is it. The interest is still there and it's still concrete. No one says that he's not needed. Erik Ten Hag is pushing, and the board also has promised to tell Erik Ten Hag, we are going to deliver the player. But they want to agree a permanent deal on fresh terms. That is it. They want to agree a new deal on permanent terms. That's what I'm really getting in from that side. Then Prince Yusuf, Amrabat is needed at Man United permanently. Then Busy Iconic Music, hey bro, how are you? I'm good. And Mapuka Pouka, we need Ugarte and Fofana and Amrabat. I think we only need Ugarte and Amrabat. That is it. You know, Ugarte and Amrabat are really the players that we need the club of Manchester United. If you have them, even if Casemiro goes, even if Scott McTominay goes, you'll be having Kobe Mainoo, Amrabat, and Collier plus Ugarte and Kobe Mainoo. Those 4, I think, are enough, because Collier looks like he's knocking on the door to coming through. Kobe Mainoo has already gone ahead to prove himself. Add on Amrabat and Ugarte, 4 players tussling it out for the double pivot. Move on Casemiro, move on Scott McTominay. I think that will be some good business that Man United would have gone ahead to do in there. Then I'm having Kono says, hello, already watching you from Ghana. Good work, bro. Thank you for watching it through. Then Adam says, we need Amrabat permanent. You need him permanent, right? Adam Amuda says, good afternoon from Ghana. All right, thank you for watching in through. Then John Ziwa, United need to make wise decisions on defensive midfielders. Imagine Mainoo injured and Casemiro in his retirement. We are short of CDMs. Yeah, that's why I tell you that we need to get into, and those 2 on my list are 1, Amrabat and Ugarte. You know, both Amrabat and Ugarte can play as CDMs and can play as number 8s. You can as well place them in the same team. Ugarte plays as a box-to-box midfielder and Amrabat plays as a CDM. They can also partner with Kobe Mainoo in any style of play that you want them to play in. So, we are waiting to see what decision is going to be made by the club of Manchester United. But all I know it is we are going to go in for him, because we are a club that doesn't have a lot of money, and you cannot lose out on a player that proved to us that he can really do a job for this club. Then we are having John Zua. United need to make wise decisions. All right. Then Happy Sichinga, Amrabat was crucial to the current United. You're right. Now, there are some updates that I've gonna hit to get about Amrabat again, coming in through from Dean Jones, who is a correspondent or a football writer or a football correspondent at the Give Me Sport. This is what he had to say. He said Sofyan Amrabat only has a future at Manchester United if a move of Ugarte proves difficult and alternative avenues are blocked off. There is a slim chance of a fresh loan agreement, all cut price deal being on the cards despite original indication. And this is where I really fault him a lot, because you can't come out and say that there are slim chances. Yet Ten Hag wants the player. Ten Hag wants the player, and he is like thinking that Man United is going to go ahead and really get in one midfielder. United is going to get in two midfielders, and the easy midfielder to get in through is Sofyan Amrabat. He's already proven, and you can get him on a cheap. How can you pay 70 million euros for the side of Ugarte? Yet Amrabat is there, and I think Amrabat is going to have to get confirmation from the club of Manchester United that they need him. That's why his agent is not obviously trying to look for other avenues to obviously sell him. And if that was the case, Amrabat would have already gone ahead to look for options, also other suitors that need him, because in Italy there is Juventus, they need the player. In the Premier League, Fulham, Liverpool, West Ham, Saudi Pro teams are really interested in Sofyan Amrabat. So this is where I disagree with this gent known as Dean Jones, because Fabrizio has confirmed to us that the player is needed at the club of Manchester United. Then I'm having Dean Jones say Man United are only being linked with handing Amrabat a peer lifeline because they have been unable to source a replacement at this stage. This is where I really fault these journalists. I think they are tapping journalists and they're like, we want to make ourselves popular. You can't tell me that we are going to hand him a lifeline because we are unable to source out a replacement. That is not it. You get? If United want Ugarte, they'll go for Ugarte. And there is no way you tell me that we'll only need Ugarte, because Casemiro is not that kind of player that you can rely on. You get? And I think the club has already gone ahead to make a decision that they want obviously move on players that are really on huge wages. And one of those players that is on huge wages is Casemiro, and his performances are not really up to the best. You understand? Then Dean also said Man United have also been holding off making a final decision over Amrabat's future due to ongoing uncertainty over whether Casemiro, McTominay and Eriksen will remain at the club. And those three might not be players of Manchester United next season. That is it. They might not be players of Manchester United next season. And why won't they? I have a reason, and my reason is simple. Scott McTominay is a player that we don't need. Though Erik Ten Hag has gone ahead and obviously come up and obviously defended him, Ten Hag has gone ahead obviously coming through and obviously defended him, but I believe he's a player that he is surplus to requirements. If you tell me that I get in Sofyan Amrabat and Ugarte and I sell Scott McTominay, I do it immediately. No question, I go for that. I tell you, I move on that player without further ado. That is it. And Eriksen, if we can get like 5 million euros from Eriksen, get 40 million euros from Scott McTominay, and 30 million euros from the side of Casemiro, that is close to 75 million euros. 75 million euros, you can easily conduct business and get in other players that can help us do the needful at the club of Manchester United. So I find it very, 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 very agitating for everyone who thinks that Scott McTominay should be here. And Eriksen is another one that is supposed to be moved on. Casemiro, obviously, though the Saudi Pro League talks or connection really cooling down, but he's a player I would obviously move on from the club of Manchester United. I wouldn't like to see him play at the club of Manchester United. So that's what we've gone ahead to get in from Sofyan Amrabat. United are not gonna really trigger the release clause, but interest is still there, and they're still trying to obviously open up new, fresh talks to obviously get this guy and his deal over the line. Now let's go to Leny Yoro. Yesterday he played 45 minutes, looked great, and put in some huge performances. And this is what we obviously had to get in through from him after the game. He said, yes, I was very comfortable. The team, the staff, everyone helped me a lot and made me feel comfortable. It was credible, happy with my performance, and that of the team. I hope we continue like this. Obviously, he's really very, very, very good, and he fit into the team like a glove, and he's happy with the performance, and we just can't wait to see how he plays against Arsenal when we are playing a week from now. He said, "We are going to the United States of America on Wednesday to play 3 competition matches. The fans will be there and will give everything to win." And he said also, "On welcoming fans, they are everywhere. They are great with us. Thank you. I hope to see you soon at Old Trafford." That is Leny Yoro for you. And he's like, "Fans of Man United, I'm ready to give you all the best for the club of Manchester United. And just don't look anywhere. Trust me and take me to where we want to be." That is Leny Yoro for you, with a very huge submission in there for you. So the list of those that are going to be really traveling to the side of US is going to be out. And on Wednesday, we are going to be jetting to the US. Then after Leny Yoro, let's see what Ten Hag talked about Amad Diallo. He said, "This has to be Amad Diallo's year. We have to see Amad in a different way. He's not inexperienced anymore. I trust him. New signings already here. The leadership is doing a great job for sure." He also added and said, "We have to look at Amad in a different way. He's young, but more inexperienced. He had physical problems before a very good period at the end of this last season. This year must be the right one. It's good to let him start like that. Very good game." And I've seen people obviously coming and say, "Amad needs to leave the club of Manchester United." I was like, do you know exactly what you're talking about? You need to be living on a different planet to come out and really say that this guy needs to obviously leave the club of Manchester United. I tell you, Amad Diallo is the guy. And to me, he is my first choice right attacking midfielder for the club of Manchester United. We just have to see to it that he keeps himself fit, and then he really runs the show. I know when you're playing against Arsenal, when I'm going to be doing the preview, I think on Friday, I'll be here letting you know that I start that guy onto the right attacking side of the midfield. That is it. I start him there to really put in the shift as expected, like you saw him tear apart the side of Rangers. And I know Arsenal will field I think Zinchenko onto the left side, and I know he will school Zinchenko and send him back to Ukraine. That is Amad. But after what he put up, Ten Hag also thanked the board for the good work done. And I think he's really right, because we've gonna hit to get in 2 super signings that have gonna hit to coming through early before we get to the US. And then I think United are really working hard to get in the midfielder before we fly to the US, and maybe a Matthias de Ligt signing. And I think for the Matthias de Ligt signing, we might not obviously be hurrying up to get it done and dusted. Reason being, he might not even join us, even in the US, because he played until the quarterfinals, and I'm going to hit to see players, because when I look at what Arsenal are going to hit to put out on the players that played in the semi-finals, on their players that played in the semi-finals, looks like those players might really come in through and join the team when they are back to London. You get? So you might find out that even these other players, that is Zirkzee and Matthias de Ligt, might be joining Manchester United when we are back in Manchester. So that's why they are focusing on those players that can really turn in early in the. And for Amrabat, it has going to come to my head right now that we are going to go in for him, because even Ugarte won't cut his holiday short. Remember, he played on a Saturday, 13th, you get? And players that played on 14th of Manchester United will return when we return from the US. That is Kobe Mainoo and Luke Shaw. So that means even these other players, the likes of Zirkzee and Matthias de Ligt, if at all we sign Matthias de Ligt, will have to return when we return from America. They won't be part of the tour unless otherwise they cut their holiday short. That is it. We need him, please. That is Hamuchemba. Then Sentongo Philip says, we need Amrabat at United. Thanks for serving us, bro. All right. Then Bangura, I love Amrabat because of his physicality. Thank you. Then Lungu says, he's needed. That is Sofyan Amrabat. So that's what we had for you. Second video of the day. We obviously commenced the day with the player ratings, and you guys went ahead to watch them hugely. So enjoy this video too. I sign out for now. See you later, and I cover you all in the precious blood of Jesus Christ. For everyone that has been part of this video, we out for now. See you later, and bye-bye, because the Lord God is going to make it happen. We are still alive. We thank him for the gift of life. And I'm going to be returning 2 hours from now with another, I think, live session where we'll be talking more and more about the club of Manchester United. So, bye-bye. Let's see close to 300 likes much in this video. Your thoughts on to Amrabat decision finally made by Man United. Would you want him signed on a permanent, or we should move